Good morning to you. It's a cloudy, cold day. It's supposed to get up into about the 50s, but right now we're right in the low 40s. So just standing in the garage here a little bit. Was hoping to get some sunlight, and I'm excited. Today we're going to get the engine all the way put back together. And I've been doing some stuff off camera as time allows, but I'm going to kind of do an overview on everything that I've got on here, and we're going to finish her up today, get that long block all put together, and we're real close to getting this thing finished up and running for the first time, so I'm super excited about that. Harness is not here yet. Holly was actually back ordered on the Terminator X, so I'm excited to kind of go over that and show you guys how to hook that up. Only needs 4 wires to run, and it doesn't get any easier than that. I'm not big on electronics, but this is my first time really diving that deep into it. But honestly, it doesn't really get any easier than this Terminator setup. So let's take a look at this engine, and let's get up close, take a look. So here we go. A lot different looking than last time I saw her. Actually got the intake just resting on there right now. But the one thing that I wanted to show you is the injectors here. So I've got EV6 injectors on this, and they're off a 2005 Chevy Envoy. The reason why I went with the EV6 connector is because that's what's going to be compatible with the Terminator harness. So it was important that I got these. I actually got these used as well, and pulled those off of a fuel rail that came off that Envoy. So the nice thing about these, again, these are the newer style. They don't bolt right on the Ls1 fuel rail, though. I did want to reuse this to cut down on costs, so I had to get these cups, these extension cups. These are from ICT Billet. A lot of good stuff over there on this engine, especially. So these cups work. They extend out the fuel rail to a point where you can use the EV6 injectors. So I'm excited about that. Right now it's just sitting on there. I don't have it bolted down. I do have to get some washers to take up some of the space here. Actually, if you can see it, there's a little gap. There's quite a larger gap right there. So not a big deal. Just need to get a washer or two, put them under there, and it'll be fine. Coming over on this side, I did torque the rocker arms down. I wanted to make sure that the push rod length was going to be sufficient, and it looks like it is. So with this engine and using the stock head gaskets, I didn't shave the head. The bottom end is completely stock. It does look like with that Stage 3 Brian Tooley Racing cam, at least for my application, you can reuse the stock length push rods, which for me is a nice little deal because I can just go and get some pretty inexpensive push rods. I don't have to get anything custom length. So I'm pretty excited about that. Also, the one thing on this engine too, nice thing about this fuel rail, and the reason I wanted to reuse it is you can actually mount it both ways. So with the fuel coming in off the passenger side, it's going to be real easy to hook that up with the quick connect, and I'm going to make lines, and I'll show you guys all how to do that as well. Alright, so I've already got this head torqued down, and that was real easy. I went in 3 increments, used plenty of ARP lube on the studs, and this went 3 passes, 30, 50, and then finally 70. I have heard that 80 is also acceptable, but it is the max, and I'm not running force injection or anything on this yet. Probably will run a little nitrous later on, but for now I'm just going to be putting 70 pounds on these and calling it good. These little guys are 22 with the ARP lube, and those get tightened last. I did put some tape over the ports. I don't want to make my life miserable by having to take these heads back off if a nut or a bolt were to fall into the chamber. Just don't want to deal with that. So This head is not on yet, but I'm about to torque it on. The last thing I want to do really is just clean up those bores really well. There's engine oil in there right now just so that they didn't flash rust. Didn't want to take a chance on that. So I'm going to show you guys basically that torque sequence in case you're curious how that looks. And I'm just going to clean up the cylinder. We'll torque this on and we'll get this thing buttoned up. Head gaskets I used for these are directly from GM, and these are the Ls1 gaskets. Maybe a little bit interested why I did those. Well, these are also for the high output 5.3. The high outputs were the aluminum block and the more high performance heads. So that is the head gasket used for this, stock thickness. It is a MLS gasket, multi-layered steel, and a little bit difficult to get it on with the studs. They were getting kind of caught on the thread, so do be gentle if you are running head studs while putting that gasket on there. So I'm just going to clean up these cylinders real quick. There's a little bit of oil left in them, so just want to do my due diligence to make sure that, you know, we're not leaving a bunch of junk in there. So, all right. Now that we've got everything satisfactorily cleaned, pretty happy with where we're at. I'm just going to throw this head back on here. It is a little tricky with the studs. You just want to make sure that you put it on there as true as possible. And I'm not doing a good job of that, so let's straighten this out. And there you go. So next step, I'm going to put some ARP lube on all the studs, and then we're going to go through the torquing sequence, get these torqued up. Now you don't have to use much of this, just enough really to get it on the threads. I just put some on the top so that when I put the nut on there, it catches and it'll end up on there. And we'll put some on these as well. A little bit goes a long way. Excellent. Washers go on next, and you just want to make sure you get a little bit of lube on these. Also make sure you drop at least one of them underneath your car just to make things a little bit more interesting. Okay, alright. The other thing that you want to make sure you do is you just get a little bit of this on the face so it can slide on top of that washer. It's crucial to make sure that you get the torque specs correct. And then you just get them all on there finger tight. Alright. So the first pass we're going to do is 30 foot-pounds, and the pattern that you kind of go on is a start in the middle, and then you kind of do a crisscross back and forth per ARP. So let's get these at least finger tight here. Use the extension here to make this a little easier. Alright, so I got my phone here, so I don't have to try to memorize the torque pattern here. So start with the center, and we're going to go to 30 foot-pounds on that. Alright, and this bottom one. And this one here, and we go to this one, top one. This bottom one. Let me go to this one. And finally this one. Alright, next up is 50 and then 80. Same pattern, now just bringing it to 50. And here goes 70, and then we're done. Excellent. All right. Next step, you have to install the 5 up here, and we need to tighten those down to 22 foot-pounds. All right, 22 foot-pounds, starting with the center one. Alright, it's as simple as that. Now I'll tell you what, I like a soda pop or two, definitely when I'm out in the garage working on the engine, you know. Nothing wrong with that. But I'll tell you what, this is not an operation that you probably want to have too many soda pops with. You probably want to be doing this when you got a good clear head, and really, again, you hear all those horror stories about these head studs breaking in the block. Just don't even mess around with it. Make sure you're following the instructions to the T. Don't use engine oil. I can't recommend it. The tube of ARP assembly lube is pretty inexpensive, and it's going to save you a whole lot of money in machine work that you're never going to need if you use the lube. And do 3 passes. Again, 30, 50, 70, or 80, depending on how strong you want to go on it. We just did 70 on this. Again, I'm probably going to put some nitrous in this motor, but nothing crazy. I don't have any ring gap in here anyway, so It's not like it's going to be sitting with a 250 shot, so probably right around 100 at the most, I would imagine. So I'm going to tape up the intake ports on this, and the long block at this point is basically complete. So the rest of the work is going to be kind of going around the back. I'm going to be putting a new rear main seal in there. Got to get that flywheel off, and you know, the front cover's already on. My water pump arrived already, so we're getting really close to the point where this thing is going to be ready to throw in there. We're not going to put the intake on until we get that over by my dad's, basically, so we can fire it up. We're going to put together an engine stand with a radiator, and we're going to fire this thing up. Check for any leaks and make sure that terminator's working really well before, you know, we pull the engine out of the Corvette here and get started there, because that's going to be a lot of work. Anyway, like, subscribe, and tune in next time for the next video or two that'll be coming up on that. I am going to be putting some more videos up of the Corvette as well as I get that put back together. The interior is out of it, and slowly but surely I'm putting that together too. So again, like, subscribe, and I'll see all you guys later.